Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing this, the 2026 Porsche Macan S. And even though this is probably one of the cheapest new Porsches you could buy as of 2025, this is still probably has one of the best bangs for your buck out of any new car under $100,000. And so in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys everything you need to know about this car, from the specs, the designs, and much more. So let's go. And first thing first, let's talk specs, because this car right here is powered by a 2.9 liter twin turbocharged V6 that creates 375 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque, which for a quite small car like this is, I guess you could say, mid-size SUV, small to mid-size SUV. It is quite small, but for such a small SUV, that is quite crazy. And all that power goes through a 7-speed PDK automatic transmission via all four wheels, all-wheel drive, which of course is really good, to help this car rocket to 0 to 60 in a Porsche claimed 4.4 seconds. And even though that in itself is quite insane, the real 0 to 60 is even crazier, because Porsche claims 4.4 seconds, but as usual, the real 0 to 60 tested by car and driver is 3.8 seconds, and a top speed of 161 miles an hour, which for such a car like this with under 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, I mean, that is completely insane. And actually, I'll be showing you guys that in Newton meters and kilowatts as well, so people in other countries can understand those specs. But anyways, then you have those completely insane specs, and so now you guys are probably wondering, well, it all equates to nothing if the quarter mile is not fast. And let me tell you, the quarter mile of this thing is crazy fast. Well, 13.0 seconds to be exact, so 13 seconds flat for this completely insane car. And so now you guys are probably wondering, well, I've told you guys everything you need to know about this car, at least spec-wise. Now, what is the range and how much does this thing cost? And, well, first thing first, let me tell you guys the MPG, because this thing gets about 16 miles per gallon city, 23-ish highway, and then 19 miles per gallon combined, which is not too great, but it's still quite good for such a crazy fast car. And, well, that helps you drive about 350 miles on one fill, which is really good. 350 to 400 miles of range, which for a Porsche, that is so powerful and so crazy fast. That is really good. And so now you guys are probably wondering, well, what is the price of this thing? And I can't tell you guys that yet, but first, let me tell you guys the really short, but still quite interesting history of the Porsche Macan. And so it all started in 2015, when the wild new Porsche Macan S was revealed. That was actually the first ever Porsche Macan. The Porsche Macan S was pretty much the base model then, and it was pretty much based on an Audi Q5 platform that was kind of modified, and the design was completely changed. And, well, that was internally known as the 95B generation. This is actually still considered the 95B generation, but 2015 to 2018, you had the 95B.1 generation, which was the first generation of the Porsche Macan ever. And, well, you had more old school styling, and overall, it just wasn't as high tech. But then, in 2019, a year after they stopped the production of the 95B.1 generation, Porsche reveals the 2019 Porsche Macan, and, well, that was considered the 95B.2, the second generation of the 95B generation of Porsche Macans. And this is actually the 95B.3 generation. I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that later, but the 95B.2 generation had a brand new front and rear fascisca. You had brand new 10.9-inch touchscreen standard. You had Apple CarPlay, which is also standard, and then also a lot of things that were different about the design. This pretty much the whole front of this car was redesigned. The rear of this car, instead of just having two separate rear lights, you had one connected rear light that just came all the way across the back of the car, so it looked more futuristic and actually a little more like the 911. And, well, that was probably one of the biggest updates the Macan has ever received. And then from 2022 to 2025, the Porsche Macan 95B.3 generation is pretty much a more high-tech version of the 95B.2 generation, because one, you had a completely redesigned dashboard with haptic touch sensors in the screen, which is also really, really cool. The engines were also upgraded. All trims of the Macan were more powerful and faster compared to the predecessor. And then also, instead of the Macan Turbo being the top trim, they actually took away the Macan Turbo trim and replaced it with the Macan GTS trim, which is pretty much the most insane Macan to date, because it had a 434 horsepower V6 that was just really fast. And actually the funny part is that that car is a good deal more expensive than the Macan S, but still the Macan S is only 0.3 seconds slower than the Macan GTS, so that is also really, really interesting. And then in 2025 they revealed the XAB generation Porsche Macan, which was their first ever all-electric SUV before even the Porsche Cayenne EV, and well, that had a completely new design. It looked a lot like a large Taycan, and it was faster, it was more high-tech, it had a huge 12-inch curved screen instead of the normal dials for your speed and stuff like that, and it also had a 10.9-inch touchscreen, and it was also in simultaneous production with the gas engine model. And actually the interesting thing is Porsche says they're going to start production of the gas-engined Macan pretty soon, but actually Porsche is working on a completely new Porsche Macan gas-powered car, so that will be really, really interesting. And so I've told you guys everything you should know about this car, from the specs, the economy, the history, and much more. Now you guys are probably wondering just one more thing: how much does this thing cost? And well, let me tell you guys that right now, because the base Porsche Macan S with zero extra things added onto it starts at $78,000. But if you spec it as high as you possibly can with every single add-on that you could get, well, that could go up to $110,000. So that is quite expensive, but still, for a car like this, is it as good as it seems? Well, let's go. And so we've checked out everything you should know. Now let's take a closer look at the design of the interior, exterior, and okay, so now let's take a closer look at the exterior of this car. And first thing first, let's start off with these really, really nice headlights. And you have, of course, your nighttime lights here, you have your daytime running lights, almost in an X shape around your circular nighttime running light, which looks really, really cool. And then you also have this really cool like diamond pattern integrated into here. It's interesting how it swoops across the headlight. That's also really, really cool. Then you have your Porsche badging inside of there, and I'm also a really huge fan of this like black and white contrast. It definitely looks really, really nice, especially the gloss black in the headlights and stuff like that. Then you get down here and you have your really, really nice and actually completely updated grille, because in 2018 the grille and pretty much the entire car looked different compared to what it looks like now. But for one, you have this really, really cool blinker light, and I like how it's integrated almost like LMP1 cars, how this light is integrated here, connected to the actual body of the car. So that is really cool how they integrated it there. You have this right here, your really cool air intake there, and then you have some strips rolling across here. And then if you come down here, and you also have this strip coming across here, half of it is actually not an air intake, but then this piece right here, you can see the huge grill hidden behind here, and then you have another air intake there as well. You have some sensors right here, and then you have your huge, this is like the main, I guess you could say, air intake right here. You have your little front camera there. You have a huge sensor there, and personally, I'm not the biggest fan of these companies adding like these humongous sensors onto the front of their car. I mean, I know it's for safety, but I feel like it would look just a little bit better if they could find a way to hide it, if that makes sense. And then you also have these strips here, and actually these could open and close. There's strips inside of these strips that could open and close depending on if you want better aerodynamics or if you want more downforce and stuff like that. So that is also really nice. And you also have your iconic Porsche badge there, and actually I really like how there's these strips like on the hood. It makes it definitely look more aggressive and more like a sports car, I guess you could say, and it also hints more towards the old school 911 type of look with those air intakes that lead into the hood. So that is also really, really cool. And then you come to the side of the car here, and you have your really cool Porsche rims here, and these are the, I believe they're called Sport Classic rims. It's an option, it's not special edition or anything, but this option adds this really cool like milled titanium look to the rims, or maybe it's steel, and then you have your gloss black covering the rest of it, which of course is really really cool. And then just look at how huge these brakes are. I mean, look, these brakes are the size of two of my hands, which is crazy. That has to be at least 1 foot, which is completely crazy for such a tiny car. A lot of cars have brakes that are more like this big in the front, but Porsches, they're literally like 10 times the size. And then you hop up here and you have this really really cool mirror here. I'm a huge fan of Porsche mirrors, the way they're more rounded. They're not as like square, I guess you could say. And you have your blinker light spreading all the way across here. And actually, the reason why they put it all the way across here instead of just like right here is so that cars, when they're driving, let's say at this angle right here, or even more farther back, that you could actually see there. So of course, that is also really really nice. And then you have the height of this car, which is, I mean, it's not too tall really. Most SUVs are going to be like this tall compared to me, even something like a mid-size SUV, but this thing, it's relatively short, and I love the way the back slants like this. And then you also have this piece here. You have this cool like diamond shape, more diamond pattern coming across the body of this car. I'm not really sure if this is like useful aerodynamic wise or it's just for looks, but I think it's more for looks than actual aerodynamics. But anyways, that's still quite cool. And then you have your fuel filler cap here, and then once you come to the back of this car, you have this really cool strip light. I was actually telling you guys this earlier in the video, how Porsche had this brand new strip light, because before it was just like two separate lights here like this, but then Porsche decided, why don't we just do a strip light coming all the way across here? And actually, personally, I think it looks way better. It definitely gives me hints of the Cayenne and 911 and stuff like that, so I definitely think it looks better. And then also you have your Porsche badging here. I actually like that's not like gloss black, because you could actually read it, and I'm a huge fan of this really shiny look. You have this nice Macan S badging here, and S, it pretty much stands for sport, so it pretty much means Macan Sport, because this is a more powerful, faster version of this car. And yeah, then you hop down here and you have your titanium sport exhaust there, which look really really cool. You have your blinker light here, your little backup light right there, and then you have these two really cool exhaust pipes. And actually, the strange thing about these exhaust pipes is, check this out. If you look more into those exhaust pipes, they're quite little pipes. They're really really tiny pipes, but then they look bigger, even though this thing does sound like a beast because of that crazy turbocharged engine. And usually, actually, turbochargers, they usually make the exhausts of cars sound less good compared to more good, but for something like the Macan S, it actually works vice versa. So it sounds better with a turbocharger than it would without one. So that is also really really cool. And then you hop back down here and you have this little like diffuser type of piece right here. I don't know how aerodynamically useful that is, if it's even any, but still, that's a cool little sporty feature there. And actually, now I just want to show you guys one more thing before I show you guys the trunk of this thing. And you have this nice little windshield wiper right here. You have a nice slanted window, and actually, I believe this lifts up as a miniature wing. I'm not completely sure, but I believe this lifts up just because the way it looks cut out, and of course that is also quite nice. And then also you have this gloss black wing here. You have a nice little stoplight there, and this one actually, instead of just having a closed roof, this one has the open panoramic glass roof, so that is also another really cool thing. Okay, so now let's open the trunk of this car, and you actually just pop this little hidden button there, and then it electrically opens, which of course is quite nice. And as soon as this thing opens, even though the size looks quite small, you'll see that this thing is, I mean, quite spacious. You have a whole bunch of different mats here, I don't know why, but you have a 12-volt charging port right there, which of course is nice if you want to go camping or something like that. You could lower or heighten the car, that's what those little arrows there are for, and depending on if you want to raise it higher or drop it lower. So that, of course, is really, really nice. And then also you have this little area right here. I'm not sure how useful that tiny little storage area is going to be, but you have this small little storage area right here. And actually, interestingly, the only other cars I've seen this little like dent right here for a storage area is actually in electric cars, strangely enough. So that is also really, really cool. And overall, the space of this car is relatively good. I'll show you guys how big it is now. So we've checked out all of the exterior of this really cool car. Now let's check out the interior and see if it really lives up to its Porsche name. Now let's hop inside the 2026 Porsche Macan S. So, pop those doors open, hop inside, and as soon as you get in here, you could definitely tell the luxurious touches in this interior. It didn't really feel as sporty as the S name says it is, but I feel like this feels like more like a luxurious Bentley SUV than a sporty Porsche Macan S. And so now let's check out the interior. First, you have this really cool wooden grain trim here. I'm a huge fan of the way it looks because you have like, it's almost like smoked wood. That's what I think it is, like smoked wood trim there, which looks really, really cool. You have lock and unlock buttons here. You have 1, 2, 3, and set, which truthfully I don't know what that means, but there's a lot of Porsches with that on it, so that is also quite interesting. And then you have this nice titanium looking trim or steel trim, not completely sure, but still that is also really, really nice. Then I have a little, I guess you could say, phone holder. Yeah, you should be able to hold a phone like straight upwards inside of there, but it'd probably be quite inconvenient. But anyways, you have that little storage area, I guess you could say, right there. You have your handle here, and I like how there's not a bottom right here, but it's actually completely open, so you can see my hand sticking all the way through there. So that is also really, really cool. And actually, then let's say you have a fishing pole or something like that. I don't know why you'd have a fishing pole in a Porsche in the first place, but just for example, you could put it right here and stick it, let's say, all the way to up here, and it'd still be able to fit because that kind of holds it in place, this little handle piece right there. So that is also really, really nice. Then you have a little cup holder right there. You have a little storage area for snacks or something like that there, which is also quite nice. Then you have Burmester speakers here. I'm really a huge fan of Burmester speakers. They make probably some of the best sounding speakers besides like Bang & Olufsen and stuff like that, but still those speakers are seriously good. And then you have some more speakers right there, which is also quite nice. And then you have your little AC air conditioner there. You have your little storage area here, and you have a little Porsche booklet here, and everything you need to know about your Porsche Macan. So that is also quite nice, even though the space, I mean, it's relatively good. It goes back quite deep. It's just the way it closes. I really feel like you'd only have like this much space, not all of this. So there's not too much space, but still a relatively good amount of space if you add in this and a lot of other things. But anyways, then you also have your dashboard here. The dashboard is completely updated compared to the older generation Macan. So this is, I guess you could say, a newer dashboard, even though the last time there's been like a full update on the Macan was, I believe, 2021. But anyways, that is still quite nice. Then you also have your little clock there, which is also nice. And you have also your little, I believe it's called a tachometer there as well. You could see how fast you could time yourself, let's say around a track or something like that. That's why it says 15, 30, 45, and 60, because that's a miniature timer. So you could see that little timer there, which is quite cool. You could pull this down, and you pull this down, and of course you have your nice little mirror right here. And actually, just like on Bentleys, I think Porsche originally made this up, but like on Bentleys as well, you have a really cool light up here instead of right here, and that actually helps with, like, I guess you could say, getting more light on the face than just straight into the eye. So that is also better. Then you could fit your little mail or keys or something like that in there, which is also quite nice. And then you also have your handle here, which also looks really, really cool. I'm a huge fan of this really nice Alcantara roof. The roof is pretty much completely made of Alcantara, which is also really, really nice. And yeah, then you also have these little vents here. You have your more Burmester speakers there, which is also quite nice. And actually, speaking of, now let's check out these seats, because I haven't really talked about them, but they're relatively good. Let's first try these seatbelts on. I'm a huge fan. I've had this like sand interior, I guess you could say, color here, and the seatbelts are also the same color. But the seatbelts, as usual, Porsche so good job. I definitely applaud you guys for making these seats so good. They're so comfortable, so smooth. There's no rubbing or anything. So the seatbelts are on point, and actually the seats are also on point. You have your nice Stuttgart badging there. You have your leather trim on the headrest, and these are the breathable seats, I guess you could say. They're not just straight up leather, but you have these little holes which actually could flow AC and so like that through them. So that is also really, really nice if you want to be cooled off, let's say on a hot summer's day, and you don't want to be sticking to your leather seat. So that is also really, really nice. And actually, they hold you in place relatively good. They don't hold you in place the best, but still, they're pretty good. I mean, it's not really a race car, but still, it's of course really, really nice. And actually, this is the key right here. Let me show you guys this. I'm a huge fan of how Porsche makes the key. It looks like the silhouette of, I guess you could say, like a 911. A 911 silhouette here, and you have your trunk opener, lock, unlock, and just your Porsche badge here. And actually, every time you lock, unlock, or open the trunk in this car, or even turn on the emergency mode, then there's a little red light that blinks on the Porsche badge, which is also really, really cool. And so yeah, then you put that down. And actually, speaking of, now let's check out the touchscreen of this really cool car. Okay, so we finally got the screen on, and this is the screen. You have navigation here. It's definitely not the quickest, quite laggy, but you can just press here and it puts you perfectly in the center. But yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest, but still, it'll do. You have destination, you have favorites, and you could go to media as well. Then you also have phone here. You have favorite, calls, contacts, and then you go to the car and park assist. You can see displays. That's interesting. You can see the display brightness, switch off screen. You have proximity sensors, touch tone setting, so confirmation tone. Okay, so I guess it could turn on whenever you touch it, but then it's turned off the rest of the time. So that is also quite interesting. And you can actually scroll up and down to see the different things. And I mean, it's quite reactive, the rest of the screen. I mean, it's not like hyper reactive and hyper quick, but still, it's better than the actual map. And you could see, let's say, the weather here. It doesn't have, I guess it does have the weather, but you have the weather there. You have news, legal info, the closest gas station, closest hotel, parking, restaurant, Google online search. Interesting, I wonder what that is. So, okay, you could just look up different places on navigation. So, it's also quite nice. And then you can actually move. Well, that's interesting. You can move the sound around. So if I'm just in the car, let's say, and I was just sitting in the passenger seat and I wanted to listen to music, I could put the sound all the way over here. Or if someone else wanted to listen to it back there, but everyone else didn't want to, you could just put it back here. I'll just put it back in the middle. But that's also really cool. Then you have tone as well. You have the presets from the Burmester speaker, so that's also cool. Then you have volume right there, so that is also quite cool. And it's quite a simple touchscreen. It's not too high tech, but still, I mean, it's relatively good. And overall, I mean, the car is quite nice. And then you have your 7-speed PDK automatic there. You have, of course, your AC here. You have all types of different settings. You have sport mode. You can put it in off-road mode. You have all types of different modes. You can lift the car or lower the car. You can turn traction control off, and that's actually kind of strange. Usually in just regular SUVs, you don't have traction control on and off, but usually it's only in like supercars or stuff like that if you want to be able to drift them or just drive them regularly. But still, that is also quite interesting. Then you have option here. Oh yeah, okay. So I guess you can control the screen, the driver. Oh, that's for sound, and that's just to move around. So that is also quite cool. I like that a good deal. And you have 150 miles an hour max. What does that mean? I'm not completely sure, even though the top speed is 161 miles an hour. It says 150 miles an hour max. So that is quite interesting. Then you have more AC here. You have these different dials there, and that, of course, overall, is quite nice. You can see that this moves all the way back here. So there's a lot of different modes you can go in that automatic transmission, which is also really, really nice. And then you have your storage area right here, which is also quite cool. You have your cup holders here, and cup holders, I mean, they're pretty good. It's cool how Porsche made it's like this plastic, but the way it moves in and out, it's really cool. So it could fit all types of different shapes of cups. So that is also really nice. Then you also have your Macan lettering there, which is also quite nice. And overall, the interior of this car is really, I mean, luxurious for such a small car, and it's not even too expensive either. It's under $80,000 for the base car. With taxes, it's probably around 80, but still, it's seriously luxurious. It's like a miniature luxurious sports car with 5 seats. So that is also really cool. Then you also have your armrests here, and if you open that up, you have space here. You have a little phone storage right there, even though I don't know if big phones would be able to fit. And it actually says face screens out, and the reason why is because that's pretty much a wireless charger, at least from what I know. That's a wireless charger, so that is also really cool. And then you have USB 1, you have SIM, you have SD, you have USB 2. So interesting, you have SIM card, SD card. I don't know why you have to do that, but maybe, let's say you have data on an SD card, you could maybe put it on the screen, but that's quite the interesting thing. I've never seen that before in a car, so that's quite interesting. But the space overall isn't the best. I mean, it's okay, but it definitely isn't that great. And yeah, then you also have your mirror here, which is also really cool. You have passenger airbag, and then you have this humongous light here. You can just turn it all on. Let's see. Okay, that's when it's on, and that's when it's off. You can't even really tell the difference, but you could turn those ones on. I don't know why this one, though, this huge one right here, you could barely see it. And then you can also control the backlights back there as well, which is also quite nice. And you can also open and close this nice little roof opening right here. And it's really nice how it's open so that you have like a Targa style feel, and I definitely like that. So that is also really nice. Then you come to the driver's side, and of course your beautiful Porsche steering wheel. One of my favorite steering wheels, I'd say, in the world over all the cars I've reviewed, because they're just so nice and ergonomic, and I love how they're just perfect circles. So it's the easiest probably steering wheel to steer instead of having all these flat pieces and stuff like that. So that is also really nice. And then you have, like, you could call people, you could turn up the volume, and I love how they have this like bolted type of design on the steering wheels, which is interesting. Like the steering wheel's bolted on, so that is also really nice. But yeah, then you also have your horn right there, and then you also have the instrument cluster here with your RPMs there, your top speed in miles per hour, which is also quite nice. And then you have a little screen there that shows different stuff: drop frame, active, interesting, and it shows how much range you have left, 316 miles. So it must have quite over 400 miles if it's on really low, but it has 316 miles, at least fuel wise. So yeah, that is also really cool. You don't have, though, the sport mode selector and stuff like that you have on 911. It's this little dial here that you could turn, and it switches you into different modes, sadly, but still, that is also quite cool. And so I think we've checked out all of the really cool interior, or at least the front seats of this cool car. Now let's take a closer look at the rear seats and see if they're as cool. Okay, so now we're in the back seats of the 2026 Porsche Macan S, and, well, it's quite spacious. I mean, headroom, it's relatively good. All this opens up, actually, because of the glass, and, yeah, you can see my headroom. It's quite good. I have about this much headroom, which is a good 6 inches of headroom. Someone 6 feet should be able to fit in here comfortably. Knee room, I mean, someone about 6 feet tall could comfortably, like, this is just comfortably for adults, the seating position. And my knee room, I have a great amount of knee room here. I have some storage here for, let's say, books or something like that, which is also quite nice. Foot room, I could still spread out a good deal, which is, of course, also quite nice. And then you have handles here, you have your nice wooden trim there, and then you have your little window switches there, and then more handles here, which is also quite nice. And then you have cup holders right here. You have Burmester speakers there, which is also quite nice. And then here you have your nice air conditioner here. You have temperature, different temperatures there, and then you also have your seat heaters, which is also really nice. And overall, these seats, I mean, they're not extremely comfortable. They're not extremely comfortable to tell the truth, but still, I mean, they're good, comfortable enough in order to go on like a long road trip or something like that. I feel like even for an adult, this is still really, really nice. I mean, it is covered in nice leather. You have some of the best seatbelts in any car, like literally period, which is also really, really nice. And then you also have some USB-C there, which is also cool. And you could actually, I believe, option these with a little screen here. That's why it has this shape, but this one is an optional screen, but you can option one with a screen, which is also really, really cool. And yeah, so that is also quite nice. And then, actually, let's hop in this middle seat here. And actually, the actual seat, like the cushion that I'm sitting on, it's crazy comfortable, to tell the truth. There's a lot of like plush in it, but the back part, to tell the truth, is not great. Like in every other middle seat I've tried, every other car pretty much, because of this. You have cup holders here, which is great for everyone in these seats, but for the center seated person, it sure isn't great. And actually, you have nice little seatbelts here. Let's try those out. Okay, so we got the seatbelts on, and it's relatively good. I mean, you have a nice little headrest here that's actually adjustable, as you can see. So you could lift it up or lift it down. It's better up, at least for me. But still, you have a relatively good amount of space. You just put your feet out like this, though. You can't, because like this, you have to sit like this, which is really, really, really uncomfortable. So this is, I guess you could say, the best way to sit when in the middle seat of this car. But yeah, anyways, that is also really, really good. Even though the middle seat, you have the best view out of your front window, which, of course, is also quite great. And then you have a little view of the trunk from here as well, and out the rear window. And also, you have nice little LED lights there. They react pretty quick and are quite bright, and of course, that's quite good for a book reader. But yeah, so that is also quite nice. And so I think we've checked out pretty much all of this really cool car, the interior, the exterior, and pretty much everything you need to know. And now let's hop out and near the end of our video. Okay, so I hope you guys liked this video. Remember to like and subscribe to Xaaron Reviews, and also check out my X and Instagram where I post some of the coolest car news that I know. So see you guys next time.